Hey everyone, Cody here, and today I want to talk about this idea of earning your keep. I was reading 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, and that section kind of stuck out to me. So we're going to talk about that, and I actually did do some research before coming out to make this video, so I did get a little context. So first let's read the verses and then we'll talk about them and we'll talk about some of the concepts within it. So we are in 2 Thessalonians 3 and it is verses 6 through 14, and I'll read the whole thing. Warning against idleness. So in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we command you, brothers and sisters, to keep away from every believer who is idle and disruptive and does not live according to the teaching you received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to follow our example. We were not idle when we were with you, nor did we eat anyone's food without paying for it. On the contrary, we worked night and day, laboring and toiling, so that we would not be a burden to any of you. We did this not because we do not have the right to such help, but in order to offer ourselves as a model for you to imitate. For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule: the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. We hear that some among you are idle and disruptive. They are not busy, they are busybodies. Such people we command and urge in the Lord Jesus Christ to settle down and earn the food that they eat. And as for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good. Take special note of anyone who does not obey our instruction in this letter. Do not associate with them in order that they may feel ashamed. Yet, do not regard them as an enemy, but warn them as you would a fellow believer. So there's a couple of things that when I was reading kind of some of the context for this, the first is that Paul had this rule of if you want to be a part of the church, even if you don't have money, you have to work to earn your keep. And I think that that's, fair. People should just not come in and just expect to be handed out things. If they are willing and able to work and be a part of the church, then they should also contribute to earn their keep. The other part of this is, I guess during this time, the Roman rule, a lot of the higher up people, like the more wealthy people, there was almost like this welfare state. And so basically what rich patrons would do is they would hire a bunch of basically people with no money. They would hire them to do menial tasks, and some of those tasks were even unchristian. And so people would do those unchristian tasks for welfare instead of submitting to the church and working for the church to earn a keep. So Paul is basically saying, you should not be idle. You should be doing something. And if you can't afford to pay for your food, then you should be working at least for it. Now, I think that this is a very important verse, not just for this time, because sometimes we can look at verses just in the isolated context of when they were written, but also sometimes they are just kind of a broader thing, that we should all be contributing to the success of the church. There are a lot of people who simply attend church on Sunday and maybe they get some kind of service from the church. Maybe they get food or clothing, or maybe, there's ministry there that's helping them, through something. And a lot of times they'll extract things from the church, but then they don't go back and pour it into the church, right? So, for instance, if maybe I got food and clothing from, the church, like they provided me those things, and it provides teaching. But then I never wanted to give back with my time and energy. Maybe I could, get involved in some kind of ministry. Even though I don't have money, I could serve others in some capacity. Well, Paul is saying that we should all be doing that, right? How is the kingdom supposed to grow if we don't pour ourselves back into the kingdom? It's almost an investment, so to speak. So Paul is telling us that we should be working to earn our keep. Now, you could also take this into the broader context of just life in general, where it's not just in the church that you're, pouring into the church, but just in general, we should not be entitled and just expecting that our needs are going to be met without contributing at all. We should be, working hard, and we should be trying to earn our keep. Now, I'm not saying that you will always like the work that you do. I'm not saying that sometimes we're not overworked or undervalued. That's not what I'm saying at all. And if you're in a position where, your job is just not great, you have a lot of options, at least, here in the U.S. Maybe in other places it is a lot more limited, so I totally understand that. But our attitude about the work shouldn't trump our attitude to work, if that makes sense. Like, we are called to work hard. In fact, it's mentioned in Ecclesiastes, it's mentioned in Proverbs, and I actually wrote a couple down. And this is a memory verse tracker, if anyone's interested. I put it together on Amazon. It's very simple, very clean, just has room for the date, the verse, and like the verse reference. Although I might change up the structure a little bit. If anyone picks up this book, let me know, because I might leave a little bit more room for the verse reference. But anyway, I put this together. This is my proof copy, but I actually use it. Anyway, so let me read off the two verses that I have here. So the first is Proverbs 18:9, which says, "One who is slack in his work is brother to one who destroys." If you really think about it, people who are lazy and don't contribute are basically, they're taking things, but they're not rebuilding those things. And so over time, you would destroy something. So it's like if you took from a plant, right? If you took from a tree and you just kept extracting the fruit over and over and over, but you never watered that tree, you never took care of it, then eventually the tree will die. And you destroyed it by extension because you didn't pour back into it. The church is the same way. If everyone just extracted from the church and no one poured back into it, then the church will eventually crumble. But this is the same, as far as our lives, right? So if we just tried to take a bunch of stuff out on debt and never paid back the debt, we would destroy not only our credit, but we would also destroy our reputation. We would destroy possibly our future because we might get sued or, whatever. So, in essence, by only extracting and never, working to contribute, you are actually destroying. The other verse I have is Proverbs 19:15. "Laziness brings on deep sleep, and the shiftless go hungry." And again, I think that we live in an era of entitlement. A lot of people feel like they deserve, super high paying jobs. They deserve to have nice things. They deserve to not have to struggle ever. And while I do agree that the cost of things is pretty high right now, we're not owed anything. The world doesn't owe us anything. God doesn't owe us anything. We're His creation, not the other way around. And so we, regardless of kind of the outcome of our work itself, our attitude should be that we should want to work because it honors God. 1 Corinthians 10:31, one of my favorite verses, is, "Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God." And there's also the verse, I think it's in Colossians, I honestly don't remember, but it's like, we're not working for human masters, but we're working as if unto the Lord. And so ultimately the point out of all of this is that we should want to earn our keep because it's the Christian thing to do. And it makes us feel good. If you've ever done like a really good job on something, if you've ever worked really hard, you feel good about the work that you did because it's ingrained in us. And so it's less about the thing that you're actually doing, as more so it's about your attitude towards doing the work. So yeah, I mean, that's really it. That's all I wanted to share. The verses stuck out to me, and I just wanted to share kind of my perspective on that. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.